The Pivac family, women in the workforce during and after World War II. Presentation by Bailey Harris at Liberty University for History 300, Section B01. My object of study has changed since I started researching for this digital presentation. While my original thesis was about the Normandy invasion and D-Day, it has now become about women's role in the workforce during World War II, as my great-grandmother would contribute to the war effort through her work in a factory during the war. My great-grandfather, Paul Pivac, was born in Pennsylvania in 1925 to Yugoslavian immigrants. He entered active duty in the Navy on December 7, 1944. Incidentally, this would be exactly 3 years after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor that dragged the U.S. into the war. Like many immigrants during the time, my great-great-grandparents came to America in hope for a better life. They would meet in Pennsylvania and get married, and they would start a family. My great-grandmother, Anna Mae Roman, was born in Pennsylvania in 1926. Her parents were also immigrants. Her mother was German and her father was Italian. During World War II, she worked in a factory. Along with many other women of the day, Anna Mae, my great-grandmother, worked to provide equipment and assistance to soldiers fighting overseas in Europe. These women would prove to be an invaluable resource to their countries during the war. The most famous example of these women is Rosie the Riveter, pictured on this poster. She would come to represent the strength and determination of women working on the home front during the war. While women in the factories was originally considered just a wartime job, many women would continue to go on to work after the war had ended. On June 6, 1944, a surprise attack was launched by the Allies in Normandy, France, which was held by Nazis at the time. My great-grandfather, Paul Pivac, was there at Normandy on D-Day. He was aboard the LST-338. Pictured here is a photo of General Dwight Eisenhower giving his soldiers the order of the day of the Normandy invasion. This is his D-Day statement to soldiers, sailors, and airmen of the Allied Expeditionary Force. The opening lines of this statement read, quote, "You are about to embark upon the great crusade towards which we have striven these many months. The eyes of the world are upon you. The hopes and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere march with you." End quote. The Normandy invasion would be deemed a success by the Allies and would result in the liberation of France. The French still celebrate their liberation every year to this day. The working women on the home front played a vital role in the success of the Allied forces in World War II. I will not claim that the women were the cause of the success, but they certainly contributed to it. My great-grandparents both played their part in helping their country during the war. My great-grandfather in the Navy and my great-grandmother in the factories. He would survive the war and they would be married in 1948. After the war was over, many women would never return to their pre-war existence. Many women, including my great-grandmother, would continue working after the war, leaving their children with grandparents or other relatives. In the article, "Go into the Yard as a Worker, Not as a Woman," by Amy E. Platt, she claims that, quote, "World War II blurred the distinction between women who work and women who wanted to work." End quote. Over 100,000 women would join the workforce in Oregon alone after the war. After the war, the number of women in the workforce would increase permanently. The vast majority of women would not return to their original roles as housewives and stay-at-home mothers. They would now continue with these jobs that they had been occupying during the war. Many of the men coming home from the war suddenly found that they would have to share their occupations with women who had taken their jobs while they were away. Though there would be consequences in future to women leaving the home to work, the women who worked were essential to both keeping up with supply and demand during the war and with boosting the economy after the war.